Hi students and family members, it's Mr. Panza again. Today, you'll hear my voice once again as well as see me because I need to show you some hand and body motions where today we're going to be focused on this question that I'm underlining. How do we recognize different geometry lines? And specifically today, we're really going to focus on pairs of lines. As a quick review, let me just show you the hand and body motions for the geometry lines that we talked about in a previous lesson. This is an example of a line. I'm moving in both directions infinitely. I can move from one side to the other, and it's always a straight line. A line segment is the opposite. It has two definite endpoints, and a ray has one definite endpoint that goes on in one direction. So this is a ray going on in one direction with one endpoint. This is a line segment with two definite endpoints, and this is an example of a line going on infinitely in this direction as well as this direction. That's your review. Now let's take a look at something new. Now that you have a basic understanding of the three types of lines, we're going to talk about pairs of lines. I want to overemphasize when we discuss parallel, intersecting, and perpendicular lines, we are talking about sets of lines or pairs of lines. That means not just one line anymore, but two. Parallel looks like this. Intersecting is when they cross at other angles that are not 90 degrees, and perpendicular cross at a 90-degree angle. Let's take them one at a time. First, let's look at parallel lines. You can see that parallel lines, based on my hand and body motions, let me just make it a little bit bigger, looks like this. It can go up and down, they can go diagonal, it can look like an equals sign, but as long as they go on in both directions and never actually touch, they're not sitting on top of each other, they will never eventually cross each other, then you're talking about parallel lines. That leads me to the definition. Parallel lines are lines that never cross or become further apart. Notice that my hands were never moving up and down. They were just staying that equal distance from each other. This is what a set of parallel lines would look like. Notice that they're never going to touch each other. And I could label this top line JK and this bottom line LM, and all you'd have to do is put like an equal sign on top of each other, and you could say, well, JK equal, or not equal, but parallel to LM. That's read as, in case you can't see it, line JK is parallel to LM. That's what's nice about parallel lines as well as perpendicular. We have a little geometry sign that can prove, and the geometry sign for parallel are these two lines up and down without actually having to write the word parallel. I'll show you again that intersecting one you actually have to spell out, but all you have to know now is parallel is straight up and down. Let's continue. The next one we're talking about are intersecting lines. My hand and body motion for intersecting is to make an actual steep cross, meaning these two lines are going to do the opposite of parallel. They are actually eventually going to cross. The only thing you have to understand is that they're not going to cross at 90-degree angles. That's perpendicular. We'll get to that in just a minute. But intersecting is when they actually cross at an angle. So let me show you the definite definition for intersecting lines. Those are lines that actually cross each other. In other words, they do the exact opposite of parallel lines. Here's the example of intersecting lines. Notice that these are not 90-degree angles, and I have line OP here. The reason it's a line and not a line segment is because I can see the arrows going on infinitely in either direction. And I can say that OP is intersecting QR. Now in this case, there is no fancy geometry sign that shows intersects, so you actually have to spell the word out and then say line OP intersects QR. So you'd have to spell that one out, but you can see that they cross each other, and that's why it's intersecting. The third and final one are perpendicular lines. The hand and body motion for perpendicular would be something like this. It looks like a T because eventually you're going to get a perfect square. A perfect square, in other words, would be a 90-degree right angle. And we'll get into that when we talk more about angles, but at least for now, perpendicular lines means 90 degrees, a right angle, a perfect square. Let's see what that looks like. First, the definition. Lines are perpendicular if there are two lines that cross or meet each other to form square corners or a 90-degree angle or a right angle. So in this example here, you can see I've got two lines. And if I label those lines and then show you that I can fit a piece of perfectly cut paper right in that corner, I'm going to get 90 degrees. In other words, you will see a typical box that shows a 90-degree angle, just like that. So in this case, because that is a right angle, in fact, all of these are right angles, that makes this a perpendicular line segment with this one. That one, if I label it ST, would be seen as line ST. And this would be the perpendicular line. It's like an upside down T, showing you that the hand and body motion really makes sense because that upside down T can extend and show you the 90 degrees. And I'd have to label the other one UV, which would then show me ST is perpendicular to UV. And that really, in a nutshell, are the 3 pairs of lines that you need to know this year in geometry. And now that we've had an opportunity to not just recognize different geometry single lines, but pairs of lines, you should hopefully be able to apply it. And I've got a couple of cool projects that I think you'll like, so stay tuned. Thanks for stopping by, and I hope this video helps. Talk to you soon.